Described as the fiercest woman in history, it is currently impossible to know the boundary between truth and fiction in her horrific story. But her fame is that she is a legendary vampire that only Count Dracula surpasses her. Elizabeth Báthory was born in 1560. She was endowed with beauty, wealth, excellent education, and high social status as a member of the Báthory family that ruled Transylvania as an independent principality within the Kingdom of Hungary. And her family had a bad reputation due to a series of perverted actions for its members, beginning with one of her ancestors, who emanated from his bloody, well-known vampire legend. Also, her uncle was believed to be a slave of Satan, her Aunt Clara was a homosexual and tended to torture servants, and her brother Stephen was an alcoholic. It was known about her father, who was insane. They were laughing and crying for no reason. Actually, they were most likely suffering from a mental disorder. It is said that her father killed a child in front of her when she was 9 years old, and perhaps it was this cruel childhood that led to her deviant behavior. Then, at the age of 11, she became engaged to Ferenc Nadasdy, who belonged to another Hungarian aristocratic family, but 2 years later, she gave birth to a child with a lower-class lover. So Nadasdy castrated this lover, and then threw him to the dogs to tear him to pieces, and the child, who was a boy, was secretly hidden from view. Elizabeth married Nadasdy at 14, and the young couple lived in Nadasdy castles in Hungary. Her husband was the first to teach her torture methods before killing in live lessons by making her cut off the limbs and then the heads of the Turkish prisoners. He noticed her enjoyment and innovation of new methods. And when he moved away from her due to working conditions, she found in herself a lust for girls, so she took a hill with young maids, and after having sex with them, she tortured them and cut their flesh. In the end, she slaughtered them. Aiding her in torturing and picking up girls from the country was her lame servant and a wicked lady named Anna Derafolia. The Contessa enjoyed starving the girls for a week, sticking pins in their lips and under their nails, shaving their private parts, and then killing them. One day, while her maid was putting the final touches on her hair, Elizabeth was surprised by her hair being pulled by the maid, who apologized in panic for this mistake. But Elizabeth instinctively grabbed her silver scissor and slammed the young maid's face hard so that the terrified girl's blood would spill out on the Contessa's hand. As Elizabeth was wiping the blood off her hand, she noticed that her skin was starting to look smoother and more radiant than before. So she consulted her courtiers, who immediately agreed with her, fearing her wrath. Weaving a purely fictional story about a noblewoman in the past, the blood of the young maidens had a similar effect to what happened to her, and she became beautiful until the last day of her life. That's why Elizabeth summoned that maid whose face was slashed, and she pulled her by her hair and hung her from her feet with a chain of steel over the bathtub, and she cut the girl's throat so that her blood flowed profusely into the basin in which Elizabeth bathed. During the years, Elizabeth tortured and killed about 600 poor girls and 25 members of the royal family. She found that the blood of maids was not sufficiently effective in restoring beauty, so she resorted to royal blood. With the disappearance of many girls, rumors began to spread about her sadistic activities in the castle, so a priest turned to the Hungarian authorities, who began investigating the matter in 1610. In December of the same year, Elizabeth and 4 of her servants and close friends, who were accused of being her accomplices, were arrested. They were all sentenced and found guilty. 3 of them were executed, and the 4th was sentenced to life imprisonment. As for Elizabeth, she was not executed because of her family's social standing, but she was imprisoned in a castle, where she remained in solitary confinement, in a room whose windows were walled up until the age of 54, when she died inside that room in 1614. She was initially buried in the castle church, however. An uproar among local villagers meant her body was moved to her birth home at Exed. Elizabeth Báthory has appeared in many movies, and was often featured as a minor character in vampire horror films. There are several European films that dealt with her life as a main character, such as the Slovak film Báthory, Countess of Blood in 2008, and the French-German joint film, The Countess.